Have you ever thought about building your own guitar? Whether it's a 3-string cigar box like this one or a more sophisticated one, I'm going to show you how in this multi-part series.
We're in OpenSCAD. This is an open source free program, and in particular, a script inside it that will generate fretboards for guitars that are customizable. Let me show you how it works. So inside the program, I have what we call parameters. Parameters can be adjusted. And for example, right now, I have a scale length set for my fretboard of 25.5 inches. That means that the distance that my string stretches when it goes from the nut to where the bridge would lie on a guitar is 25.5 inches. I can change this value, so I'm gonna go ahead and change this value. I'm gonna make it 20. And when I do, I'm gonna then hit, when you hit F6, you're gonna see that it not only shrunk where this goes down to, but it changed the spacing on every one of these frets. It's mathematical, and it did it exactly, and it put it in the precise location that you would expect in order to have 12 notes to an octave that's counting the sharps and the flats. It also not only drew in these frets at precise positions, but it also put in fret markers at the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 12th, the 15th, the 17th. It would also put it in the 19th. We don't have to have that many frets. We can change the number of frets in our model. So if I come down here to the number of frets and I say I only wanted 12 frets or maybe 15, let's go put 15 in, and you'll see the fretness are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This first one is actually what we call the nut. So we're not going to count that in our total number of frets. And so, lo and behold, we've got this. Now, let's say we didn't want a 6-string guitar. Say we wanted a 4-string guitar. So we could put in 4 here, hit F6, and there we've got a 4-string guitar. I'm going to go ahead and put that back to 6 strings. Let's say we wanted the neck of our guitar, instead of being 1.75 inches across, we only wanted it 1.5. We can come over here, change this to 1.5 for the neck width, hit F, and immediately it's redone, it's respaced everything properly, it's drawn the strings in. Now, those strings are more for cosmetics. You say, you know, I really don't want those strings to be drawn. Well, we can come down here to change whether or not we want the strings plotted or not. And so, for example, if I want to change this SVG drawing type, it's going to adjust what type of SVG we're going to get out of it. So if I put in a value of 2 into this scenario, it will leave the strings out. So let's go ahead and change the SVG drawing type to 2. And I'm going to hit F6. And then it's got the frets in there. It left the fret markers in there. And if we come out here, you see that it kept everything else the same. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 1. And I'm going to hit F6. And lo and behold, there's the strings back. So you can see what you're dealing with. Now, at the top, you can see that it also prints what the parameters for the scale length was in inches and the neck that we had set above. Let's say we don't really want to generate that as part of our SVG. We can go down here to plot text. We can change that variable. And if I just backspace and put it as a 0, hit F, that brings it back. What if we don't want the fret markers? Because some classical guitars don't necessarily have those fret markers drawn. We have the option here. If we change this flag to a 0, so I'm going to change this to a 0 fret markers. Everything else stayed the same, but the fret markers are gone in our SVG. If I'm going to change, it brings them back. Let's say we wanted to make a ukulele. A ukulele still does the same mathematics as making a guitar fretboard, but the scale length is much different. So depending upon what type of ukulele you want, let's say we wanted a concert type ukulele. I've got some comments up here. It says we want to use a scale length of 15. So I would put a 15 in here. The number of frets of a ukulele are way less. We'll just put 12 in, but you can adjust it to whatever you feel is appropriate to the type of ukulele. And the neck width, I've got set for 1.5, which is standard for a ukulele. Usually a full width guitar is 1.75. So we've already got it. If I hit F6, there's our ukulele. Now it's got fret markers on there. No problem. If you don't want them on there, you probably don't need them with that few of frets. You can go down and of course you can toggle on and off the fret markers like we've done before. Now, one thing you might have noticed, I've never seen a ukulele with 6 strings. That's probably not going to be the case. So ukuleles typically have 4 strings. So we go over here. We're going to go ahead and change the number of strings to 4, and I'm going to hit F, and there's our SVG of our ukulele. Let's go ahead and change this SVG type to a drawing of 2, which means we're going to shut off the strings. And there we have our position of our frets for our ukulele. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 1. Okay, we wanted to do a cigar box, which is what I'm going to be doing in this series. But everything that we're doing here can just be scaled to a regular size guitar if you like. So the scale length, let's say our cigar box guitar was 21. We'll make it 18 frets. The neck width is just like the neck width typically that we have on a ukulele 1.5, but you can make it whatever you like, whatever fits your hand the best. You can certainly do that. And the number of frets, I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and hit the F6, or you could hit this button up here at the top. And lo and behold, guess what? We've got our SVG for our cigar box. But wait a second, this is a 4-string, and there are some people that do 4-string cigar box guitars, but it's more common to have 3 strings. So what are we going to do? We're going to go down here. We're going to adjust the number of strings, and there we go. We've got our model for our cigar box guitar, like so. Now, let's go ahead and change the SVG type of this to, say, a 2. So if I go down here, drawing type, I'm going to put it as a 2. And I'm hitting, and so there's our cigar box template. These are all the frets spaced properly, and it's got the text at the top. I'm going to now want to eventually use this SVG that's generated because we haven't saved this. And one thing you want to do is whenever you make these changes, it's up to you whether you save the program. You obviously want to save it once you've typed in your initial program. I'm going to go ahead and hit save for the moment. But if I go over here, the big thing to get an SVG, we have to export it, because when I hit save, let me back out of here. When I hit this save, this saves this script. But when I go over here and I export, that's where we actually get the SVG. You're familiar with the STL models if you're a 3D printing person. And we could actually extrude this up in this program, and maybe I'll do that in a later video. But the over here, the SVG, if we click on export, we can export this. And so I'm going to go ahead and export this as just cigar box. And it's not a bad idea if you want to put in what the scale length and so forth of your name, but I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm going to hit save. I'm in VCarve right now. Now, I've got it set up for a full-size piece of poster board. You don't need a huge CNC if you want to CNC these, and you certainly could hand cut these and drag it into the SVG into graphics program, individual print the different pages so that they stay to scale, and then tape them together on a piece of wood and hand cut these slots for these frets. But I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and then I'm going to import. So I go up to File, I'm going to go to Import Vectors, and I'm going to go down to my cigar box. Hit open. When I imported it, actually imported it below. So I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of all this stuff. I'm going to hit the G on my keyboard, which groups it all. And I'm just going to arrow key up. And suddenly we have this inner software. Now, if I take this whole model and I hit U to ungroup it, each of these now is an individual vector. So what can I do there? Let's say now that it's in here, I wanted to machine this. And this will be shown in greater detail in a later video. I can click on this line and I can hit delete. And when I did, it still puts the nut down here at the bottom, but it gets rid of everything else. I still have a line up here at the top, which represents where the bridge would be placed. It's not a true fret. It's where you're going to have your bridge on the body part of your guitar. And then, but let's say you don't want all this text. If you didn't already generate it and turn it off, you can just grab it and you can just delete it. Let's say you didn't want to have the bridge there. You can come up here, you can delete it. And now I think you are starting to get the idea of what we're going to eventually be doing in a later video. We could cut slots with our CNC. These are precisely positioned, and we can cut slots inside our fretboard. We can also cut our markers with pockets to either inlay with something, or you could just V-carve them in if you wanted to in your board. Lots of different options, and each one of these fret markers, we could put another object. If you want to have a really fancy fretboard, you could drag an image of an eagle or a dove or whatever you like and center it over this circle and then delete the circle and then have your CNC carve that out. So that's the kind of the general idea of how this is going to work. So I'm not going to go into all the tooling in this video, but I think you have enough information that gives you a general idea of what's going on.
So if you could hit subscribe, if you haven't, it'll give you first access to that script in OpenSCAD that I'm going to provide very, very shortly. So you want to do that. I don't know how long I'm going to leave that video up, so please subscribe and you'll have first access. Sure appreciate it. And if you like this video, you might also like this one. I'll leave you with this final thought. God bless.